Probably the biggest influence on me, strange though it may sound, was the 70s, a decade of invention. Growing up then had a huge impact on me. People wanted to experiment and were hungry for change. I was influenced by the literature and art of the time, listening to John Peel and Annie Nightingale and watching Monty Python. I grew up a huge fan of the Three Stooges and Monty Python, so somebody getting slapped in the face with a fish, or falling out of a chair, or running into a door, or tripping over their own feet and eating it, is all stuff I find really, really funny. Dead peasants insurance is a term that sounds as if it comes straight out of Monty Python. If only that were true. I've always been more of a nerdy, academic type. I loved Star Wars growing up. I have 3 older brothers, so they were a big influence on me. We loved Danger Mouse, and we love Monty Python. We loved any kind of British comedy and Wallace and Gromit and all of that stuff. No day of my life passes without someone saying the words Monty Python to me. It's not bad. Growing up, I watched shows such as Blackadder and Monty Python with my parents. My parents introduced me to SNL, Monty Python, and Richard Pryor probably way earlier than they had any right to. The label, Wife of the Prime Minister, is like a giant signboard pointing at my head from a Monty Python sketch. But I am not Mrs. Prime Minister. I'm a human being. Science was always a passion, but I also loved Monty Python and The Young Ones, and I discovered the Footlights Comedy Club at university, where a lot of those people got their start. I had a go and loved it immediately. After that, I just couldn't stop writing sketches, and it all took off from there. Comedy. It was just huge in my house. Peter Sellers and Alec Guinness, Monty Python and all those James Bond movies were highly regarded. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a hugely important movie to me. I remember watching it for the first time on cable when I was about 13 years old. Missing out on Monty Python was a real blow at the time. I sometimes wonder how things would have been different if I had been invited to join Monty Python, but as the saying goes, one door closes, another opens. The whole idea of creating saints, it's pure Monty Python. They have to clock up 2 miracles. Monty Python has such a huge following, myself included. I like musicals that are sometimes comedic, but I haven't even seen the Monty Python musical, and I'm a huge Monty Python fan. I have a weird sense of humor. My dad's the same. We love watching Monty Python together. Monty Python was never on TV in the UK when I was a kid. As a teenager, I loved The Carol Burnett Show and Rowan Martin's Laugh-In, and I lived to watch Monty Python. I've learned to take care of myself. You know, I try to stay conscious of whatever my energy is at all times, really. I mean, I come home from work, and, depending on the day or depending on what was going on, if I needed to adjust, I'd just meditate, or play guitar, or watch some Monty Python. I'm a prankster with a Monty Python sense of humor that somehow gets misrepresented in those tacky supermarket publications as bratty, snotty, and rude. I've always looked up to Amy Poehler and, obviously, people like Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, Mel Brooks, and the Monty Python guys. I loved SNL growing up, and I would trick my babysitter into letting me stay up to watch it. My family would rent Marx Brothers movies and Monty Python episodes, and we watched, in living color, The State, and Strangers with Candy. My dad is into movies, and they let me watch movies. I was obsessed with Monty Python when I was in preschool, I don't know why. But as a kid, I loved Monty Python. My dad was a devout watcher. We used to watch it when we ate dinner. I like that feeling of discombobulation that comes in creating an absurd world that doesn't make sense. Monty Python does a good job of it, Bugs Bunny, too. I grew up on Monty Python. At the end of season 4 of Mr. Show, instead of doing another season, everyone just thought they wanted to go and do a movie, kind of like Monty Python. Monty Python went right into and now for something completely different, and everyone kind of compared Mr. Show to Monty Python. My mother is British, she's from Shrewsbury. She turned me on to Monty Python very early. Monty Python crowd, half of them came from Cambridge, and half of them came from Oxford. But, there seems to be this jewel, this sort of two-headed tradition of doing comedy, of doing sketches, and that kind of thing. As a little kid when I would watch Monty Python, that would just blow me away because it was just so silly and absurd, but so intelligent, and I loved that. Monty Python is now more recognized by the films than by the TV series. Pastoralia, by George Saunders. Possibly my favorite book. It's one of the weirdest books I've ever read. If Monty Python and Thomas Pynchon had a love child, and it was raised by Frank Zappa on a weird commune, that would be this book. I had a Monty Python CD, and I would listen to it in the car on the way to school. It also refined my British accent. I can do a killer British accent because I'm just imitating Monty Python. I prefer the finesse of French humor. English humor is more scathing, more cruel, as illustrated by Monty Python and Little Britain. When I was in my late teens, I discovered Fawlty Towers and Monty Python, and they still make me laugh. That was sort of the Second City approach, which was try to be intelligent and assume your audience is intelligent. We were influenced by Monty Python, too, which would have philosophers in a wrestling match. Remember that film, Sliding Doors, when John Hannah woos Gwyneth Paltrow by reciting Monty Python sketches? I can tell you now that doesn't work, so that film's wrong. I'd grown up loving English films. I was a huge Monty Python fanatic as a kid. The Goons were always one of our favorites. We always felt we were in that tradition: Goons, Monty Python, Peter Cook, Vic and Bob, Spike Milligan. We felt we were part of that lineage, but in England, it wasn't happening like that. There was a brand of comedy like The Office, which was very real. I love Monty Python, Blackadder, Fawlty Towers. I'm a huge fan of British comedy. I think I was the only person in my experimental film class doing comedy. But my sense of humor and a lot of comedy that I love is quite surreal and strange, you know? You could argue that Monty Python is experimental film. It just happens to be really funny. I would really like to do a movie. Schedule-wise I don't know when exactly, but I think it would be great to do a Portlandia movie. Some of my favorite television shows have done it and they've been great. Like Monty Python. I think it would be great. Monty Python became my religion when I was 10. It led me out of the depths of darkness. I loved The Goodies, too, and The Two Ronnies. I watched those shows on the public television station in Chicago. As a kid I would watch SCTV, Saturday Night Live, Monty Python, and The Kids in the Hall, and be amazed that these guys got to be different people every week. It spoke to the acting side in me. I love Monty Python, Blackadder, Fawlty Towers. I'm a huge fan of British comedy. I love the humor of Monty Python. I always remember being so impressed by how violent Monty Python are, actually, when you look at what they do. Terry Gilliam has a great way of kind of proposing violence. Monty Python and The Simpsons have ruined comedy for writers for the rest of our lives. Most Monty Python fans are, of course, baby boomers, who have long been a nostalgic lot and are growing more so as they totter toward old age. We just thought of Boosh as an extension of our childhoods in a way, the stuff we had grown up on and loved, Monty Python, The Goodies, Frank Zappa. It spoke to a certain type of person, and we just carried on doing it. If a song is funny and absurd, and it sounds great, it's just going to be that much funnier. And there's no better example of that than Monty Python. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.